Greetings, everyone. I would like to begin by thanking Mr. Walter for first offering the opportunity for us to come and tour the building and meet with him. Also, truly appreciate the opportunity at this point to be considered a possible candidate for the primary school principal position. As you clearly know, Clare schools rock. They're a district that has a very good reputation, as evidenced by their 30% school of choice numbers, excellent facilities, and top notch athletics. My name is Dandy Cuff, and I am currently finishing my fourth year as principal of John Glenn High School in Bay City. We average around 850 students per school year, and as a district, we are roughly 40% school of choice. We have enjoyed some great successes recently. We just received a bronze medal on the U.S. News and World Report America's Best High Schools 2019. This year, we also received the AP Honor Roll Award from College Board, making us only the third school in county history to be recognized with that distinction. Our Performing Arts Department just won their 17th state MIFA title, and our Pom Pom team just completed back-to-back state championships this year. A lot of great things going on at the building level. What does it mean to be a professional? First of all, you need to look the part. Being a professional means that you come to work each day dressed, behaving, and modeling what young people would want to aspire to be and that staff would be proud to be as their leader. Secondly, you need to act the part. Being a professional educator means you're able to have intellectual discourse with other stakeholders about how to best prepare our young people for success, and you need to be approachable by parents, community members, and staff. Third, you need to provide an example for others. Being a professional educator means that you conduct yourself in such a manner that you cannot be questioned about your moral character. And then lastly, as principal, you're the primary agent for culture in the building. Being a professional educator means that you utilize your substantial capacity to make those around you better. What does it mean to be part of a highly functioning team? My first time that I was on a highly functioning team as a teacher was as a teacher at Arthur Hill High School in the social studies department. We had a fantastic staff from top to bottom. We planned together, we worked together, we wrote pacing guides together, wrote common assessments together. We did all that in what was in the best interest of our students at the time. Because of that, our students benefited greatly. And so we were able to build that on a foundation of trust and presumed positivity. And we actually spent time together outside of work, and it was really a dynamic, high functioning team. As a principal and being a member of a team, most times you're in a leadership role. To talk about a schedule change that we just recently have. We set out 2 years ago to evaluate our current schedule to see if it was meeting the needs of our students. What we found through a year-long process is that we needed to make a change to better serve our population. Through research, relationships, trust, and the burning of a little capital, we moved from a 7-hour instructional day to a modified 6-hour day with a flex period. Initially, our staff was fairly divided about the move, and there was some discontent. Over time, the trusting relationships prevailed, and the vast majority of our staff have embraced it. On a side note, the students loved it from the start. The basic principles of all high-functioning teams really focus on those relationships and that trust. Once those things are established, you can really move people forward to implement change, even when they're resistant. All right, Clare primary school data. Unfortunately, with the data that I have access to, you're really only allowed to see a snapshot. First blush, the data presented on the website shows a decline from 2015-16 to the 2017-18 school year in students who are proficient in all subjects on state tests. There's also a marked decline in students who are making progress towards or increasing their proficiency on state tests. This data by itself is not enough to formulate a plan. I would really need to triangulate the data and look at local and building data. There need to be further evaluation of the teaching staff as well as past trend data. And lastly, we'd have to have meetings collaboratively to make recommendations moving forward. Now, I've done this successfully at the middle and the high school, and I feel very confident about my ability to do so at an elementary. All right, strong classroom management. It's not about having the right rules, it's about having the right relationships. So a classroom that has strong management, what does that look like? Students show respect to one another in the classroom. They also have a positive attitude, are on task, motivated, and display effort. What does it sound like? Students participating in small group and whole group instruction, them expressing their own ideas, interests, and thoughts, collaborating with one another and sharing their feelings. And then what is the feel in a classroom with strong management? It feels like we're all in this together. Feels like they're a professional learning environment unto themselves. And that's a classroom where there's fun and the teacher is clearly passionate about her position. Classroom observations, I look for 3 things. First, student engagement. Regardless of what the instructor is providing at the time, the key observable factor is how students respond. I've seen some dynamic lesson plans fall flat because of how the students respond, and I've also seen some poorly prepared lessons soar as a result of the student response to the teacher and the relationship. Are the students energetic and focused? Are they enjoying themselves? Are they on task? Secondly, I look at organization and structure. Is there a clearly posted agenda, and can students restate learning goals for both that activity and for the day? And is the classroom organized for safety, security, and ease of movement? And is there an effective plan for managing student behavior? And then lastly, and most importantly, is that the teacher shows care and concern for students as individuals. They need to establish an open line of communication with the home. Students are respectful of one another, and there's a sense that the teacher really cares about the students and that the students care about one another. In regards to the professional evaluation process, there are three very important parts of this. First is the pre-meeting. This meeting should be scheduled no more than a day or two prior to the formal observation. Conversation at that meeting would begin like this. Please tell me what I'll be seeing tomorrow. This is where the teacher lays out their learning goals, discusses how they will check for understanding, and discusses what technology will be used during their instructional delivery. It is also at this time that we reflect on their professional goal, which was determined at the beginning of the year. Lastly, ask if there are specific areas in which they would like feedback. The observation itself, I let the teacher choose the date and time and class. What I found is unexpected formal observations cause anxiety and uncertainty among staff, and that's good for no one. I always stay for the full length of the class period, whether that be 59 or 78 minutes. I want to see the anticipatory set at the beginning of the lesson as well as the culminating activity, if appropriate, at the end. In front of me, I keep the notes from the pre-meeting as well as the notes from our goal-setting meeting at the end of or at the beginning of the year. Throughout the lesson, I track student engagement and responses to the teacher. Lastly is the post-meeting. Now, this meeting needs to take place either immediately that day or the next day. You don't want to take too many days apart from that because you lose a lot of the information that was gleaned. A rough draft of my notes from the observation are provided to the teacher prior to this meeting. I add tentative scores to create opportunities for discussion. This meeting always begins with two questions. So tell me what you thought went well, and if you could change anything about the lesson, what would that be and why? As the teacher reflects on their lesson and verbalizes responses to my questions, I add feedback where appropriate. This entire process is more successful if there's been a relationship built on trust prior to this meeting. It also helps to keep subjective language out of this the best that you can. Inclusion. I have some great experiences as a teacher and as an admin in inclusion. Long story short, as a teacher, I was teaching two inclusion U.S. ninth grade history classes. Found that the teacher I was working with was not strong in her content, so we created a model where I provided the direct instruction and she provided supplementary support, and it worked great. But what we found over time is that my special ed kids were outperforming my gen ed kids. So that just shows what really strong tier 1 instruction can do. Not sure what model Clare uses, but I am familiar with all 5 of the models of team teaching. Lastly, how have I championed needs of students above the needs of adults? First, I think you start with the basic tenets. Students need to feel safe. They need to have their basic needs of hunger addressed and feeling loved. Students might look at the adults in their building as the only caregiver they have. We need to be mindful of that and operate accordingly. I think back to a really recent decision that we made at John Glenn. We were always the big fish in a little pond as far as athletic conferences, and then we went independent for a while. So long story short, the board gave us a directive to find a conference, and we did. We found the Saginaw Valley League would be willing to take us. What we found, though, is that our coaches and a lot of our community members were against that because we'd be one of the smaller schools. We knew that it was best for students because of the opportunities that would be provided them, both academically and athletically, and we moved forward with that. A lot of people were not happy with that. We had a lot of resistance, but 2 years in, a lot of that has gone away, and people recognize that we made the best decision for students at that time. And so you always need to put the needs of the students above the needs of adults. You play with adults and students get hurt. That was a lot of information in a very short time. I hope that gave you a little snapshot of who I am. I really appreciate the opportunity to be doing this and hopefully look forward to a next interview. Again, thank you very much.